Hello everybody, welcome back to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. As so far I've been your host, Siri. Let's go into it. The first animal of the week being the black buck, also known as the Indian antelope. It is a species of diurnal Asiatic antelope and the sole living member of its genus, Antilope. Native to India, Nepal, and Pakistan, with introduced populations occurring in Texas and Argentina, they inhabit grasslands, scrublands, and open woodland near permanent water sources, feeding upon sedges, grasses, fruit, and the leaves of acacia, mesquite, and live oak trees. Black buck are themselves commonly preyed upon by leopards, tigers, wolves, feral dogs, and golden jackals. Standing between 29 and 33 inches high at the shoulder and measuring some 47 inches in length, males are heavier than females, averaging around 84 pounds in weight compared to females at around 60 pounds in weight. Sexual dimorphism is prominent in this species, with males sporting much longer horns than females, reaching around 14 to 30 inches in length, and the horns resemble corkscrews. The white fur on the chin and around the eyes is in sharp contrast with the black stripes along the face, and the coats of males show two-tone coloration, with the upper parts and the outsides of the legs being dark brown to black, and the under parts and the insides of the legs being all white. Darkness typically increases as the male ages, while with females and juveniles, their coat is typically yellowish fawn to tan. Group size fluctuates depending on the time of year, availability of food, and the habitat in which they are in, and the mating season occurs twice a year, from August to October, and then again in March to April, during which time males often adopt lekking as a strategy to garner females, in which territories are established by males on the basis of local distribution of female groups, which in turn is determined by the habitat. While other males are not allowed into these territories, females are allowed to visit these places to forage and graze, at which time the male will attempt mating with visiting females. Gestation typically lasts 6 months, after which a single calf is born. The young are typically weaned by 2 to 3 months of age, but may stay with the mother for up to a year. Males reach sexual maturity at 3 years old, while females reach around 2 years old, and under ideal conditions, a black buck may live upwards of 15 years. Next up is the Farlowella acus, also commonly known as the twig catfish or the whiptail catfish, is the type species of the armored catfish genus Farlowella, a group of thin algae-eating fish that sport unique body shapes that resemble a stick of wood. Found throughout Lake Vallecina and the Torito River basin of Venezuela, they are generally peaceful and social bottom dwellers, commonly found in small groups, nesting amongst the driftwood, aquatic vines, tree roots, bamboo shoots, and other aquatic vegetation in the area. The bulk of their diet consists of such aquatic vegetation, with a preference for the various forms of algae. However, they have been known to also feed upon small arthropods and carrion from time to time. F. acus typically reaches upwards 6 inches in length, with a coloration that ranges from olive green to yellow-brown, with yellowish undersides. A very distinct irregular dark band, often beset with blotches, extends from the head to the root of the tail, and the fins are transparent with rays that sport dark spots. F. acus is readily identifiable from other Farlowella species by its short, blunt rostrum, which is broader in males than it is in females. When mature, the male's rostrum becomes adorned with small bristles known as odotodes, while the female's snout will remain smooth at all times. Breeding typically occurs from November to March and begins with the male cleaning a hard surface, such as a rock or a shell, on which the female will lay anywhere from 60 to 80 eggs. For the next 6 to 10 days, the male will guard and carefully tend to the eggs until they hatch. Under ideal conditions, a Farlowella catfish will live upwards of 12 years. Next up is the Atlantic puffin, also known as the sea parrot, the clown of the sea, or the common puffin. It is a species of seabird in the auk family, and along with the tufted puffin and the horned puffin, make up the genus Freticula. It is the only puffin native to the Atlantic Ocean, with breeding colonies present in Canada, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Greenland, Russia, Maine, Scotland, France, and the Faroe Islands. Like many seabirds, the Atlantic puffin spends most of the year in the open ocean, feeding upon fish, crustaceans, mollusks, polychaete worms, and they only really visit islands and the continental coastlines to breed. When fishing, it swims by using its semi-extended wings as paddles to fly through the water, and its feet acts like a rudder, allowing the birds to reach both considerable depths and speeds. Atlantic puffins are themselves preyed upon by seals, sea lions, large predatory fish, cetaceans, polar bears, and especially other birds, including the great black-billed gull and the great skua. Measuring some 10 to 12 inches in length, 8 inches tall, and around 1 pound in weight, they sport a 19 to 25-inch wingspan. The Atlantic puffin is a sturdily built animal with a thick-set neck, short wings, and a small tail. It sports a black crown and back, pale gray cheek patches, and a white underbelly. This is in sharp contrast to the distinctive red, orange, yellow, and black beak, which glows vibrantly under black light. Both the short legs and large webbed feet are bright orange, contrasting with the sharp black claws. They spend the autumn and winter in the open ocean, in the cold northern seas. Then the Atlantic puffin returns to coastal areas at the start of its breeding season in late spring. Monogamous mated pairs nest in cliff-top colonies, digging and maintaining an expansive burrow, in which the female will lay a single white egg that is then incubated and ships by both parents for a period of 39 to 45 days. Chicks mostly feed on whole fish and grow rapidly. After just 6 weeks, they are fully fledged and make their way at night to the sea. Atlantic puffins typically reach sexual maturity around 4 to 5 years of age and may live upwards of 30 years under ideal conditions. Next up is the common musk turtle, also known as the eastern musk turtle or the stinkbok turtle. It is a species of small turtle in the family Chenosternidae and is named throughout southern Canada and the eastern United States, from as far north as Quebec to as far south as Florida, and from the Atlantic coast in the east to as far west as central Texas. A nearly entirely aquatic species, they can be found in shallow, heavily vegetated waters of swamps, marshes, ponds, rivers, streams, and lakes, only really emerging to lay eggs or occasionally bask in the sun. They are an omnivorous species, feeding upon crustaceans, insects, freshwater clams, snails, aquatic plants, small fish, tadpoles, worms, and carrion. Common musk turtles are themselves occasionally preyed upon by raccoons, foxes, herons, snapping turtles, alligators, and water snakes. To combat predation, these turtles use a defense mechanism in the form of excreting a foul-smelling musk scent from small glands on its underside, hence the common name, the musk turtle. In addition to, it will also bite and claw fiercely at any would-be attacker. Typically measuring 2 to 5.5 inches in length and around 3/4 of a pound in weight, females are noticeably larger than males, while the males sport a much longer spiked tail. They have highly domed shells, which is typically a combination of brown, gray, or black in color. The head is vaguely triangular in shape with a pointed snout and sharp beak, and a yellow-green stripe that runs from the tip of the nose to the base of its remarkably long neck. Barbels are present on the chin and the throat, and the plastron is relatively small, offering little protection for the short legs. It has only one transverse interior hinge. The breeding season occurs in spring, after which females often lay 2 to 9 elliptical, hard-shelled eggs in a shallow burrow or under debris. An unusual behavior of this species is the tendency to share nesting sites, and in one case there were 16 nests under a single rotten log. The eggs hatch in late summer after a 100 to 150 day incubation period, and under ideal conditions, a common musk turtle lives upwards of 50 years. Next up is the Scottish wildcat, which is a subspecies of the European wildcat, which was once common throughout the British Isles, but today is considered to be critically endangered and can only be found throughout the shrubland and forests of the Scottish Highlands. Here they feed primarily upon rabbits, voles, mice, and ground birds, and are themselves occasionally preyed upon by eagles and foxes. Males are slightly larger than females, average around 34 to 39 inches in length, including the tail, and 8 to 16 pounds in weight, compared to females at 30 to 35 inches in length and 5 to 10 pounds in weight. The Scottish wildcat's fur is distinctively striped with a solid tabby patterning. Its ringed tail is bushy with a black tip, and it differs from the domestic cat by stripes on the cheek and hind legs, the absence of spots, and white markings and colored backs of the ears. It is heavier than a domestic cat, sporting a larger body, longer limbs, and a more robust skull. In the wild, mating occurs between January and March, and after a 63-68 day pregnancy, mothers typically give birth to between 2 and 8 kittens. The young are typically weaned around 14 weeks of age, but stay with their mother for up to 6 months. Scottish wildcats typically reach sexual maturity around 10 to 12 months of age and live upwards of 15 years under ideal conditions. Next up is the The American lobster, also known as the Atlantic lobster, the Canadian lobster, the Maine lobster, the northern lobster, or the Canadian reds, is a species of lobster found on the Atlantic coast of North America from Labrador in the north to North Carolina in the south, with introduced populations occurring along the coast of Norway and Iceland. Here, American lobsters prefer cold, shallow waters where they can easily hide from predators such as large fish, seals, octopi, and other large crustaceans. American lobsters themselves feed upon mollusks, echinoderms, algae, polychaete worms, fish, and other crustaceans. Although the typical American lobster reaches anywhere from 8 to 20 inches in length and 2 to 9 pounds in weight, the species holds the record for the heaviest known crustacean, with exceptionally large individuals regularly reaching up to 25 inches long and 44 pounds in weight. They sport a large body featuring an iconic pair of claws, and the larger one is known as the crusher, which has rounded nodules used for crushing prey, and the other is commonly known as the cutter or the gripper, and it has sharp inner edges that is used for holding and tearing apart prey. Whether the crusher claw is on the left or right side of the body determines whether the lobster is left or right-handed. The normal coloration of the American lobster is a bluish green to brown with red spines. However, in recent years, and for unknown reasons, American lobsters has been showing an increasing frequency in color morphs, with red, pure blue, yellow, white, or even split-colored individuals occurring in both captive and wild populations. Mating only occurs after the female has molted with her exoskeleton, and her exoskeleton is still soft. After mating, the female stores the male sperm in a special receptacle for up to 15 months, allowing her to choose when she fertilizes her eggs. After fertilization, the eggs are attached to the female swimmerets using an adhesive, where they are carried for a period of 10 to 11 months until they are ready to hatch. The developing embryos pass through several molts within the egg before hatching as a Menanopolis platonic larvae. After 10 to 20 days, they undergo metamorphosis, showing much more resemblance to an adult lobster, yet are still an open water dweller. After their next molt, the lobster will sink to the ocean floor and adopt a benthic lifestyle. It begins molting less frequently, from an initial rate of 10 times per year to once every few years. American lobsters reach sexual maturity around 5 to 8 years of age and are functionally immortal, with individuals regularly surviving several hundred years. And our extinct animal of the week is Baryonyx, which is a genus of Spinosaurid theropod dinosaur, which lived throughout what is now Europe during the Barrowman stage of the early Cretaceous period, some 130 to 125 million years ago. The first remains of Baryonyx, consisting of a massive claw, were unearthed in 1983 by plumber and part-time fossil hunter William J. Walker while he was exploring the Smokejacks Pit, a clay pit in the Weald Clay Formation near Surrey, England. Walker and his son-in-law returned to the same spot weeks later and further uncovered another claw, a phalanx bone, and a rib. The Walkers brought their finds to the Natural History Museum of London, where it was examined by the British paleontologist Alan J. Charing and Angela C. Milner, who, realizing the importance of such finds, fully excavated the pit with the help of the Orkney Brick Company. By the end of it, a roughly 65% complete disarticulated skeleton was unearthed, marking the first British theropod discovered in over 100 years. In 1986, Charing and Milner named the new genus and species with the skeleton as the holotype specimen, Baryonyx walkeri, from the ancient Greek baries meaning heavy, onyx meaning claw or talon, and the specific name honors Walker for discovering the specimen. Since the initial discovery, several more specimens have been unearthed throughout Portugal, Spain, and the British Isles, but so far Baryonyx walkeri is currently the only recognized species. Reaching upwards of 8 feet tall at the hip, 25 to 35 feet in length, and 1 to 2 tons in weight, Baryonyx sported a notched skull like a crocodile, heavily built arms, and massive claws specialized for hunting aquatic prey. In life, Baryonyx would have inhabited wetland environments, particularly lakes, lagoons, and river deltas, having a niche not dissimilar to modern coastal brown and black bears, feeding primarily upon fish, amphibians, crustaceans, mollusks, and small crocodilians, as well as occasionally preying upon turtles, pterosaurs, and smaller infirm dinosaurs such as Hypsilophodon and Iguanodon. As always, take care to my guys, gals, non-binary pals.